Alright, Geordie Prepper here. With the coronavirus occupying a lot in the press, and most definitely it's on the minds of preppers and those that are worried about it in general, I thought I would just break down things real simple and share with you 5 steps to take before even going out and possibly panic buying gear or doing something that may not even be of any use or even protect you or those in your care. There are things you can do right now that take a small amount of time and are mostly free. There is just one thing which you can buy from stores. It's readily available. There's no real much chance of it going out of stock anytime soon. So we'll just talk about the 5 things and then we'll sum it all up at the end. The number one thing to do is not to panic. I know it sounds easier than what it can actually be for a lot of people, but the first step to take is not to panic. This is still a new and emergent situation which is changing at a fast pace currently. Panicking will not help matters and can and will contribute to an unhealthy amount of stress. Stress, although almost always said as a bad thing, it can actually be a good thing up to a certain point. But once past that tipping point, then it makes you unfocused, less motivated, and can lead to a diminishing mental and physical state, and lead you prone to illness and stress-related conditions. A weakened immune system is something that you do not want right now. The number 2 thing to do is to do a threat assessment. Many of you that are preppers, I hope, will already have done something like this, but many of you who aren't, you probably haven't. But if you haven't, now is a good time to do it. If you have read back over it and pay special attention to medical-based preps if you've already done one. If you haven't, you might want to just focus on a medical point of view for now. Also, obviously, incorporating any local threats which already exist. Ensure you know where all chemists, pharmacies are, where they take their stock from could be important. Finding out where things go before they go to a pharmacy. Good information to have just in case. Hospitals and locations of any emergency or pop-up field medical stations would also be a good thing to know. If it's possible to know this in advance, then you may be able to locate yourself to this location before the medical station pops up in that area. This is obviously if things start to go really bad and current hospitals and medical stations are overwhelmed. The third thing to do is to get good information. Ensure that you're getting good information from reliable sources. We've got the Preppers Discord server. It's full of people from all over the world that may be in your country and area already. And we discuss information about coronavirus and information to help protect us all from it and from other types of threats. Other places such as online sources, ensure that they always quote a name and a source for any information that they're broadcasting, and then check on that source yourself if possible. You can get in contact with the source direct or perhaps go to their feed direct. Make sure that the broadcasting station hasn't interpreted it incorrectly or misquoted any statistics or anything like that. People will obviously be grasping for the latest information in news. They'll be doing it from online, radio, TV. And obviously, these stations, they do have a duty to try and get the most accurate information out and the most up-to-date information possible. But even that might not be possible if things really go bad. There's obviously going to be people in that information chain which may themselves become ill, and then obviously that's a reliable source of information which is no longer available to them. So this may lead to information which is old or out of date. Also, the other thing that you've got to consider is that if things start to go really, really bad within any situation, we're not just talking about coronavirus here, or any sort of pandemic, in any type of emergency situation, it is possible that information will be intentionally withheld. They may do this as part of a pre-planned strategy, which would be designed to do a few things. The most probable would be that if people panic, they may try to remove themselves from the source of the emergency, which could lead to blocked traffic, which means that essential aid would also be blocked from coming in. So have good sources available to you, and have sources from numerous places available. If one source goes down, then you have a backup. Also, remember that even face-to-face direct communication, conversations with people, that's a source of information. It's a very important source of information. So, don't always rely on the digital side. Which leads us on to the number 4 thing, which is communication. Keep lines of communication open. As many lines of communication as you can with those that you're closest to. Remember, if you're collecting and processing information, such as those from what we just talked about, news sources, you're also going to be communicating that information to others. So remember numbers 1 and 3 from this video. You do not want to cause someone stress by giving inaccurate information. You may be in a position of care, and therefore you may be somebody's only source of information. They may not physically or emotionally or mentally be able to process too much information. So you would be, in fact, acting as a filter for these people. So again, you may be deciding what information somebody has and when and if you disclose certain information to people. So make sure that if you are in a position of care, you consider these things. But in my opinion, you should always be honest. So if you're communicating with others, if things get bad and you do have to segregate yourself and others for yours and theirs protection from a wider locality, people, then make sure that you obviously communicate your plans to those who need to know it, so that they know what you're doing. That could factor in, what they do, and also it's just good so that other people who need to know where you are if they need to get a hold of you. If you need to relocate yourself or others, then obviously all those within that group, you communicate with them the plan. Ensure everyone's aware of procedures and contingencies. Also have multiple means of contact with yourself and local and wider area. Even within your group, make sure that you have open lines, secure lines of communication, and that everybody knows how to use it, when to use those communications if some fail. The 5th thing on the list, which you can do right now, is just to declutter and clean your place of residence and implement a hygiene routine. So declutter your property both on the inside and the outside. This will make space for others within your property if they need to take shelter, or if somebody or multiple people in your group or family take sick. It'll just make it easier for you to place them somewhere within that property. You may want to segregate one room, just make it a room for sick people, and then people know not to go in that room if there is somebody who does take ill. Decluttering your property will make movement easier. It'll reduce risk of injury. I would suggest making yourself a solution out of bleach, which is the very inexpensive item that I was talking about earlier. A bleach solution in a spray bottle or numerous spray bottles, put them around your property, for cleaning and wiping down the most common areas in your property. And clean these areas regularly, and also obviously if you're in a group, assign them, people within that group, the tasks as well for cleaning. Just make it a regular part of your routine, your daily routine now. External to your property, ensure all access ways to your property are clear to and from it. Streets to your home and immediate locality are free and clear of debris. The debris could be very, very large. People often put furniture on the sides of roads, but also this goes down to a very small scale. So sweep the roads, make sure they're clear of any debris which could puncture tires or cause damage to vehicles. This is obviously for emergency vehicles. If the emergency services are having trouble getting to your location because of blocked roads, that's obviously going to delay them. It doesn't just delay them when they're on the way to you, it then delays them when they're on to the next case. If there's any debris on the roads, just sweep it clear. Make sure that the roads are free and clear of anything which could cause damage or puncture the tyres of either your vehicles or any other vehicle. Again, this is just to reduce risk and injury and exposing yourself whilst you're fixing the vehicles to risk. You could be at risk from other people who are contaminated, who see you. It's just all about reducing risk, really. Final thoughts on this situation is really just to remember that the fear of a situation can often lead to bad decisions, choices, and these alone can lead you to be in a worse situation than what you might think that you are. You're probably in a better and safer situation at the moment than what you realize. So don't put yourself or others in a worse situation by the stress and the fear causing something which doesn't exist, or it will lead to a worse situation basically. And if you're in the care of others as well, then this will put them in that situation. It'll just escalate into something which might cause out of nowhere. Really, for now, just take 5 steps back, take stock of things as they are in the present state. Make sure that you're getting a threat assessment done, you've got good information coming in, you've got open lines of communication. Declutter, get into a cleaning and a hygiene routine now and stick to it. And find out, just keep monitoring the situation, find out where you fit in to the situation at the current moment in time, and plan a couple of steps ahead, and just be flexible in your plans and see how things, how they develop really, and just be adaptable. Please be safe and be prepared, and I'll see you in the next video. Ari, Geordie Prepper here. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and subscribe and share the video too if you did. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and some constructive feedback is always welcomed. The Preppers Discord server is always available to talk to myself and other preppers about prepping and other relevant topics. My other social media is on screen now. You can follow me there, and I usually just use it to post when new videos are available. Don't forget to be safe and be prepared, and also check your preps.